Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have a new real-time video for you of a beautiful horse that I finished last month. And in this video I'm going to show you the process of creating the noseband, which is a very shiny piece of leather over the nose, which is really fun to draw. So I'm going to demonstrate that in real time in this video in colored pencil. The total length of this tutorial is 14 hours, super long, in-depth and detailed tutorial. So you can find that in full over on my website. There's a link in the description and I hope I'll see you soon in the Drawing Club membership. But for this video, let's get started with explaining the materials. So I'm using Faber-Castell Polychromos and a white Caran d'Ache luminance for blending. And then the paper I use is Canson 1557 180 grams, which you can basically switch for any type of white drawing paper that has some texture. So very normal paper to work on, nothing special. And let's get started. I hope you'll enjoy the video. Then I also have to outline the shapes on the noseband. So again, let's sharpen the pencil. Super lightly outlining the top here. This is actually more like a purple tone, so I don't need much brown here. I am going to outline all these little shapes within. You need quite a steady hand for this. I'm usually not the best with shapes like these. You need a very steady hand for it. Sometimes a little shaky, so I can't talk too much because I start shaking right away. So this is all super dark. So we have the first little band here, then a lighter band on top. So let's outline that. And then we have this big center part, and then again 2 rows on the other side. Need a little bit more space there, so let's erase that out using the Tombow Mono Zero eraser. And then let's get started with the noseband. It's the largest. We can get into it a little bit, see how it works, the mixing, and then move on to the all the little straps. So we need many different colors. I see purple, I see a little bit of blue. I'm definitely going to add violet and sky blue in the mix. Also, definitely see Caput Mortem violets, which I will use. And also, maybe more like a pinkish tone. Venetian red, I see a little bit of. And a little bit of brown, the walnut brown for the neutral toning. And then I don't think we need a lot of black, maybe just a little bit. But we'll already get pretty far with these colors. Maybe just a tad of burnt sienna. So I think these will be the colors that we can use. Maybe a tiny bit of cinnamon. So already have to also have a light color with that. Okay, so let's get started. I'm actually getting started with the cinnamon 189 for these rows. This one, the very first one, and the very last one here. These look a little bit pinkish. So starting with that 189 and doing just a little base tone to get started. Of course, we do have to make sure that the bridle stands out from the fur or the coat. Usually when the bridle is black, it contrasts really well. But right now the bridle is more like a brown, so it looks more like the same value as the coat. So we do have to make sure that it stands out by making it very shiny looking. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be adding violet on top. Let's make sure that's sharp. Let's do a base layer on every area first. You can see here in the corner, it's all a bit darker. So we really have to start looking at the lights and the darks here. Add a nice glimpse of the violet. Doing the same on this top row. Okay, and then we're going to leave this. Now move on to the main part. We have this light part in between. We're going to skip that. Move to the main part, and I definitely see the Caput Mortem violet as the base tone here. It looks purplish, brownish, which is really similar to this color. Oh, I maybe can also take the original Caput Mortem color. Yeah, let's find that one. Maybe this will come in handy as well. Caput Mortem. It's a little bit different from the violet version. The Caput Mortem is slightly more reddish, brownish, a little bit more muted. I think this will come in handy. But right now, let's first do Caput Mortem Violet, 263. Go along these outlines that I put. You can see a highlight in the center right here. We want to go around that. So completely skipping that, I'm starting with the darker row. You see just against that light row. This is really going to create the contrast and shininess. It goes up to about here, along the whole band. Starting lightly, so I'm not going to be pushing too much. Okay, let's sharpen that. I also want to go into these lines that we drew with the brown. Go into that with the Caput Mortem Violet as well to create a little bit more color there. Okay, doing the same on the other side. With a dark shadow over here, just at the top, along that last row. And around the start right here. All right. And then I'm going to be putting a little bit of shading with the Caput Mortem Violet along this top side too. But again, I'm skipping that middle part that is light. I'm leaving open the center section as well. All right, so So let's put a little bit more color in. Hype up the contrast a little. You can see this section, it can go a lot darker. I see brown there, so I'm going to add walnut brown on top. And add a little bit more pressure. Making sure that the lines stay tight. Okay, so let's leave that right now and find some other tones to use. So I see a lot of the violets. I can actually use that as a base tone. Let's use it at the top right here. Still leaving open that center section with this highlight. You can see towards the bottom here, the highlight's fading. It's not as bright anymore. And then here towards the top is also not as bright anymore. So here I can do a full base layer of the violet. Small circular motions to make sure that it's an even coverage. And then I'm trying to recreate the shape of the highlight in the center by going around it with the violet. See that it slowly starts right here. Then we have the widest section right here, and then it starts to slim down towards the bottom. And this will also give the noseband the rounded shape, the 3D shape to it. Make sure that the shape here is nice and rounded off at the top. And now it should already start to look a little bit shiny. So I had picked that Caput Mortuum tone, which I'm going to add now. Really nice tone for brown leather, I think. So that's 169, and the Caput Mortuum Violet is 263. They are very similar, but the numbers are completely different. So 169. And I'm also going to add that. Whoops, I snapped the top. Sharpen that again. Okay, so I'm going to add that to the violet section. I'm going to add it on top of the violets, especially here, the center around that highlight. The top right here is very violet-y, as you can see, so I'm not going to add any there, just here. Create that nice leathery tone. Keep an eye on the shapes. So here in the leather, we're also going to be working with the burnishing pencil more, the Carnage, to get everything really nice and smooth. But I do make sure to layer with very light pressure and small circular motions to make it as easy as possible for the burnishing pencil to get everything really nice and smooth afterwards. Okay, so that shiny leathery look is already starting to appear. We do need a little bit more contrast. And I also want to add in some kohl, so we only added many warm tones. But let's add a little bit of that sky blue 146 color just here at the top. So a little bit of the sky reflecting in the leather. See if I can add it anywhere else. A little bit right here. And then also I need to darken up those lines, those little lines in between each of the sections, the rows. I'm going to do that with Payne's Gray to also add in some kohl 181. So really concentrate again. Make sure that the lines are staying very nice and tight, sharp. Right here it's also very dark. Still leaving open those lighter strips. And then we also see some shapes right here. See some reflections, like a little ball shape, which I'm also putting in. Alright, so now it's really starting to look nice, leathery. Alright, so let's see if we can add any more colors. Just a tad of burnt sienna to get in more of the brownish tone in the leather. We now have lots of purple. So that's 283. Going to add it here at the top. Lightly. Bit more Captain Morton violet. Then we're almost ready to burnish. Tab more violet finally. 138 on top of all the other colors. And then it's time to do some burnishing. We need a very sharp gouache so we can get in all the nooks and crannies of the paper. And I'm going to burnish everything except for this darkest row here and the highlights. So I'm going around the highlights. Let's start right here. I am going circular motions. This whole top area can be burnished. I'm using medium pressure. This will mute the colors a little bit, so we might have to go over this and hype up the tones again. Let's do this little small row at the bottom. And also the one at the top. Alright, so that's already enough. Now I want to add a little bit more color and a little bit more contrast. So now I'm going in with black wherever it's needed and do a little bit of black. But make sure it's very sharp, right? So I can darken up the shadows underneath the bridle here and there. Darken up the lines here and there. So right here it's very dark. The tip of the bridle. The nose band actually. Just this little part right here, a little bit of black. And right here, next to that white strap that we still have to finish. And take that black upwards. Not too much pressure because we still want to see the colors underneath there. But this area can be darker, which will make the noseband look shinier. Okay, so almost there. Maybe add a little bit more of the cinnamon back in on these small rows. It's very small. And maybe add some color back on the parts that we burnished. A little bit more Caput and Violet around the highlights. We can refine the shape of the highlight now. So if it's still a little bit too large, you can make it smaller. I keep looking at it. See if the colors match. Darken up some of the parts that can be darker right here at the start, adding some more walnut brown. I see some wrinkles in the leather that I can add, little scratches there. And then the noseband. It's pretty good already, but we need to finish this light strip. Both ones on both sides. And they look more like tiny little gemstones. I also feel like I made the strips too wide. It's better to make them too wide than too small because it's really hard to widen them. And it's easy to make them smaller. So I'm going around with the Caput and Violet and just narrowing them down a tad. But you have to look at your own drawing to see if yours is the right width. Okay, and then we see these little dots, so these are little gemstones. I'm going to separate them with sky blue. They look a little bluish. I'm just going to draw little lines in between, so this is so small that it's really hard to make this detailed, but by separating them like this a little, you can see that these are little stones. I don't need super dark stripes in between them either. Just a tad of detail. that is basically already enough. And then the brow band we're going to do in the same way. But we're not there yet. First we have to do all these little straps. So let's move on to those because we have a long way to go. Alright, so that concludes this video for today. This is what the horse turned out like. I'm super happy with the result. It took a long time to make, a lot of energy, but I love the process of it. I love drawing horses. So I've had lots of fun with this one, and I hope you liked the tutorial too. So if you want to follow this one, 14 hours, you can find it over on my website. And then I want to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.